in there now. Nice. Ah, man, I love that. I'm going to be able to move more material than I could just with my muscles. But my muscles will still get to do stuff. Ah, this is great. Alright, I better not trash the floor in here. I still need a little cap to put on there and on there just so water doesn't get in there. But that's not that important. I can do that whenever I find them. I'm calling the steering basically finished. Which leaves me with this. Last thing to get this thing operational is getting this motor turning. And, alright, I've got all this pile of speed controller and junk. And I was looking through the stuff and I found the joystick throttle thing that came with it. Now there is one problem with the current setup. So this joystick has like a resistor in here that controls the speed. I need that. But then it has these two switches, so if you push it forward it clicks one switch, push it backwards it clicks the other switch, and that activates this relay which makes contacts between big copper things to turn on the motor, either forward or reverse. Now, there's a problem because this runs on 12 volts, and these two switches are 12 volts. So the way the guy had this in the boat before I got it was he was running his motor off 48 volts, and then he had a separate 12 volt battery that powered this and that. I'm not having a separate battery thing, there's no way. I'm doing everything on 24 volts. And all the 48 volt stuff will work on 24, that's no problem. But I can't run the 12 volt thing on 24, maybe unless I figure out the resistance and find the right resistors to put in there. I don't know, I might do that, if you think about it. The advantage to doing that would be that I could use the joystick control, and basically the farther you push forward, the faster you go forward, and the farther you push back, the faster you go back, and it's very easy to use and convenient and everything. But I could just make a separate Frankenstein switch, like a big copper thing, that does the forward and reverse. So there's a separate lever, so you click that into forward or reverse, and then you do the little joystick, and then it wouldn't matter if you push forward or reverse on it. It's just however far you push it away from the center, it will control how fast you go. Of course, then I could also make the manual switch connected into the joystick thing, so that you still get the same function, but then you have a manual switch instead of the electronic relay. The thing I like about manual switches is that there's nothing to break, and if something does break, it's so easy to fix them. But like some relay that's got all these electromagnetic coils in there and all this tiny stuff, it's a lot harder to repair if anything goes wrong. Plus, it also uses electricity. It wastes some extra juice. And obviously, judging by my steering, I don't want to waste any extra electricity on anything I don't need to. So the relay switch here does not use much electricity, but there are always those times when I'm like, ooh, if I just had like another minute or two, I could finish blah 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 whatever. And if I skipped using the relay, I would get those extra 2 or 3 minutes that I might need at some point. Plus, it's just getting rid of the complicated electronic things. I like to do that as much as possible. Because like I was saying, you know, they're not easy to repair. Generally, you just have to get new ones. I hate that. I'd much rather have some big Franken switch and just be like, and it's, you know, shooting sparks off, but it doesn't matter because the copper pieces are so big. And then like 5 years from now, when something wears through or breaks, I just get another copper pipe and just put it in there. Like the switch on my boat, I've been using it since my first boat here, which was like 3 years ago. And the thing's been out in the rain, it's gotten salt water splashed on it. You know, I've accidentally had it just barely touching where it was arcing across and like melting a tiny bit. But like the thing is, I haven't replaced anything on it. It just keeps working, you know? It is great. Right back here, somewhere in that darkness, there's a big piece of copper pipe rolled up, which I could totally use for switches. Oh, then I've also got this nice big piece of copper. That would make some nice switch parts. Whew. Man, I love working with copper. Copper and bronze. Oh, so nice. It's so easy to work with. And it's so durable, long lasting. Man, I'd love to live near a copper mine that I could just go into and get copper out of and melt it down, and I would just make like a copper fortress. Ah, it'd be awesome. Thing would last forever. You get hit by lightning, it'd be like nothing happened. As long as you're not touching the walls. Even if you were, I think you'd probably be alright. I wouldn't want to try it though. There is another thing I've been thinking about in the back of my head. With the wheels on, this thing is about 3 or 4 inches, like 10 centimeters, too wide to fit out the door. But I don't think it's going to be a serious problem. I have a few options. One would be to tip the thing up on its side and drive it out on 2 wheels. Another would be to take the wheels off and just kind of like shove it out the door. But I think the easiest way might be to take one wheel off, and then that will just give enough space that I can drive the front out the door, then put that wheel back on, then put a bunch of weight in the front so I can take a rear wheel off without the whole thing, you know, dumping back, and then drive the rest of the way out and then put the other wheel on. Because if I just take one wheel off, that makes it just skinny enough to fit out the door. I'm going to have to do that before I put the batteries in though, because the batteries are going to add a lot of weight. Oh, and if I move it out before the batteries are in, that means it won't be able to drive out on its own power. Let me just see if I can move this thing. Ah, oh, that's not too hard. Wow, my gearing is so smooth. Nice. Yeah, it has to turn all the gears and turn the motor. And the motor has a fair amount of resistance. Oh, you want to see some gears moving? I guess they're technically sprockets. Before I take it outside though, I need to silicone caulk along here and around the edge of this piece here so water doesn't get in. This I think is all fine because the roof is caulked and it'll make the water go on the outside. And you know, this isn't watertight through here, but the water's just going to run straight down. It's not going to jump inside. Even if it does a little bit, it'll still be on the outside and end up in this trough here. And from here, the water just runs out the front of the back. I got my steering thing here. I just need to caulk that other piece in that was right under here. And this should all be pretty watertight.